In order for there to be a free society, we need a free press to inform the public about what is happening and why, so the public can then make informed decisions about how the country should be run. Yesterday, for the third time in U.S. history, a president was impeached. Donald Trump faced 2 articles of impeachment. The Democrats did not have complete support or bipartisan support, and the Republicans actually did. The Democrats even lost a Democrat. But the story today is about the press. You see, a Washington Post and CNN reporter and other reporters were celebrating the impeachment of Donald Trump. Most of you might say, duh, what else is new? We know this. They tried to then claim, no, we're not biased. But the whole thing to me strikes me as silly. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to open with talking about the blatant bias, the perceptions of the people in this country, proof as to why we're facing serious problems due to the media. Impeachment was primarily fueled by media. The scandals were fueled by media, and now they're celebrating as though they themselves are the Democrats. Let me make one thing clear as we go into this story. Nancy Pelosi, during impeachment, had to shush the Democrats from cheering. When they started clapping after the first article passed, she immediately was like, no, stop. And everyone started making fun of her for it. The media is doing the exact same thing, walking in lockstep with fake news and lies and smears. It's a fact. Many former intelligence agents work for these big cable companies. It's a fact that some of these new digital outlets are hiring former White House staff. Vice News, for instance, recently hired a former Obama appointee. The media is not a free press. They're not informing you correctly. They're presenting you a narrative that they know will get their people elected and will hurt their political opponents. So let's break down the story, starting with the report from Fox News, and I'll show you the apology statement they made. But then I'm going to prove to you why they were celebrating and endorsing impeachment. Now, before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are several ways you can give. I don't have it pulled up right now. But the best thing you can do, share this video. Look, I know it's nearly impossible to crack that echo chamber, to break people out of the fake news cycle. Some people might say, how dare he use Fox News? That proves he's wrong. Well, I can't do anything about that, okay? I'm going to try and break down everything that's happening, and many people might not realize what's happening. But here's the crux of why this video is important. I'm going to show you the media bias. I'm going to explain to you why Republicans and liberals kind of feel the way they do. And then I'm going to prove to you once again why this impeachment was a huge mistake. And you may be thinking, let's say you're somebody who thinks Donald Trump should have been impeached. Okay, hear me out. Take some time to listen, even if it frustrates you, because I'm going to show you whether or not impeachment was the right or wrong thing to do. It's bad across the board for the left. First, Washington Post reports. Several Washington Post reporters were under fire late Wednesday night for celebrating, quote, impeachmas following the impeachment of President Trump. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi continued to insist that the impeachment, just the third in U.S. history, was a solemn occasion for the nation, but that did not appear to be the case for the group of WAPO journalists who were seen in an online post marking the historic might with drinks. Let me stop you right there, Fox News. People on the Democrat side were cheering, and she had to shush them. We know they're all celebrating together, okay? The media and the Democrats are walking in lockstep. Now, again, for those that may find themselves on the pro-impeachment side, I'm going to prove to you that these journalists are biased. And if you agree with their bias, that's okay. I'm not saying you're not allowed to dislike the president. By all means, you can hate him with all your might. But at least take into consideration the fact that these journalists also hate him, and they're not presenting facts fairly. It is out of spite and anger that they're taking these actions. Not all the time, not all of them, but many of them. And I'm going to show you. First, they said this. Merry impeachmas from the WAPO team. WAPO Congress reporter and CNN political analyst Rachel Bade remarked in the Post, in which she was seen with colleagues Paul Kane, Mike DeBonis, as well as Sung Min Kim and Karen Demirjian, who also are CNN analysts. Bade deleted the tweet roughly an hour after it was posted. She then apologized, saying this, I'm deleting a tweeting tonight that is being misinterpreted by some as an endorsement of some kind. To be absolutely clear, we at the Post are merely glad we are getting a break from the holidays after a long 3 months. I will retweet the group with a better the group photo with a better caption. This is not true. This is a lie. I'm sorry. I don't know if she's intentionally lying or she's just wrong or what the game is she's playing, but let me tell you something. Impeachments. I am now going to provide you 2 bits of evidence to prove they are celebrating this. First of all, she said, Merry impeachments, PK Capital is buying. Yeah, when someone's buying and you're celebrating and laughing, you're celebrating the impeachment of the president. Journalists should not be doing that. Journalists should be telling us, here's what happened, here's why it's happening. That's about it. Now, if you want to be an analyst or a pundit or whatever, I get it. We're being dominated by that. The problem is the lines have blurred. Media is no longer objectively reporting what's happening. They're giving you their personal opinion. Now, you might be saying, Tim, you're doing the same thing. I fully understand that. But I'm a commentator, okay? I have other people who do journalism separate from me, editorially independent, and I'm fine with people being commentators and pundits. This is supposed to be a Congress reporter. First of all, check this out. Impeachmas is a meme among the left about hating Trump, about supporting impeachment. So I can say two things from here. First, we have several memes where they're celebrating impeachment with the impeachmas hashtag. This is a left-wing meme celebrating Trump's impeachment. You might say that she didn't know this. The reporters didn't realize they were getting on board with a left-wing anti-Trump meme. They shouldn't be. If they want to, I guess it's fine so long as they admit their bias, but whatever. I think what we're actually seeing is, regardless of whether she realized she was jumping on the bandwagon of the left-wing partisans celebrating Trump's impeachment, they're in that bubble. That's what we're seeing. Whether or not these people in the media realize they're walking in lockstep with Democrats, when they see all these tweets and then jump on board and get involved, you can tell what bubble they are in. And I also want to make sure I make it clear again, you realize Nancy Pelosi has to shush the Democrats. But there is more here. There is more. So impeachmas is a left-wing meme. They're getting on board. But I'm not going to leave you there. We can see that the media bias even targets those who are progressive and would actually want to report the news. Crystal Ball, for instance, she's a former MSNBC personality. She's now hosting a show with The Hill called Rising, and she gets smeared for simply giving a straight-laced response, like Tulsi Gabbard. If you don't know, Tulsi Gabbard voted present, and she's being called a coward by people in media. Unsurprisingly, they're supposed to be unbiased. Instead, they're saying, this is stupid, what a coward, it makes no sense. Well, calm down. Just report it. Politico, for instance, just did a straight report. They said, here's what Tulsi Gabbard did, here's why she did it. I can respect that. Crystal Ball said, Tulsi Gabbard's reticence on impeachment makes perfect sense given her stated values. I know it's a bit shocking for politicians to actually try to follow their principles. I respect the courage it took to buck the party. When you have someone like Crystal, who is, I believe she's more progressive. I don't want to, tell someone what their politics are because I'm not entirely sure, but I believe she's more progressive. You will get attacked for it by the activists. Neera Tanden is Center for American Progress. She is not necessarily a journalist. The reason I'm showing you this is because the way she comes after people talking about Tulsi is the same way the journalists actually do. They're indistinguishable from the pundits and from the activists. Most of you know, Tulsi Gabbard, as I said, she voted present, so she's being called a coward by the press. Great, we get it. Mike Bloomberg's new operation won't investigate him or Democratic rivals. You see, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. They're openly celebrating with drinks after the president is impeached. Look, man, I can say it for the billionth time. You don't got to like the guy. You don't got to like the president. But the fact remains that journalism is not accurately reflecting what's happening in this country. It is actively trying to harm a president they don't like. I have one tweet. Somebody said something, I'm not going to call the individual specifically, but they were saying, I will. It was Swalwell. It's Eric Swalwell said something like, you had a chance to hold Trump accountable for mean things he said, something to that effect. Why are we going to impeach the president for saying mean things? And why is it that many people in media have the same opinions as those on the Democratic side? Now, I get it. I understand. Look, when you look to the conservative press, which exists, you can see that, there are people who are reporters and commentators on the right who have the same opinions as Republicans. The issue for me is, we know what conservative media is, and we know they call themselves conservative media, or we know they lean to the right. We know Fox News has a bunch of conservative pundits. The Washington Post claims that democracy dies in darkness. The New York Times claims they're being objective. But what happened the other day on CNN? Maggie Haberman, I don't remember the other guy's name. He's the centrist guy, Smirkonish. He's actually okay. But they all presented this narrative from a false point of view where they were like, we're being moderate and reasonable, but then they went on to say the facts were indisputable. Trump should be impeached now. I do think it's fair to point out CNN had Rick Santorum on, and he did push back on a lot of this, and I can respect that. But let's talk about this, right? Let's move on from media bias, and now I want to talk to you. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. I have the one more point. Proof that the Washington Post is absolutely biased and are openly celebrating. It's kind of absurd to me that the Washington Post would try and claim they're not biased, because the Washington Post editorial board wrote an article called "The Case for Impeachment. There is abundant evidence of the president's abuse of power on Ukraine." Think about what we're at right now. She claims she wasn't endorsing this. Let me show you what she said. She said, it was misinterpreted. It was misinterpreted as an endorsement of some kind. No, the Washington Post is not endorsing impeaching the president. We are just publishing an editorial statement endorsing impeaching the president. How are people supposed to know what's going on or trust the press when we know for a fact they're openly calling for a political outcome regardless of the facts or evidence? It's not just the Washington Post either. In this story from Mother Jones, the growing list of damning newspaper editorials demanding Trump's impeachment. The New York Times, the Washington Post, USA Today, the LA Times, the Boston Globe, the Philly Inquirer, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Chicago Sun-Times, the New York Daily News, the Orlando Sentinel, the Tampa Bay Times, the Salt Lake Tribune. Need I go on? That's their list. The fact remains, there's an overwhelmingly large, there's a ton of news outlets that all have the official stance Trump should be impeached. You know what? My personal opinion, he shouldn't be, and it's similar to reasons that Tulsi Gabbard voted present. And I respect her for voting present. And apparently a lot of moderate, politically homeless individuals do. She didn't choose sides. She said, well, she thinks Trump is guilty. I disagree. I don't think Trump is guilty. I think there's an argument to be made, and we could have a trial maybe. But I think this is a partisan sham. It's not actually, I'm sorry, it's not even partisan. It's bipartisan opposition, but the Democrats push it through anyway. You want to talk about what a journalist should be telling you is they should be saying, instead of telling you it's indisputable, the facts are clear, Trump did it. We never had a trial. When we see articles, and I tweeted about this saying Trump is guilty already. We never even had a trial. Trump's not guilty of anything. We just had conjecture and opinion. Then they argue obstruction of Congress. Well, Trump could have proved his innocence if he let us testify. I'm sorry. The justice system doesn't work that way. And a good journalist will inform you. Listen, Donald Trump is under no obligation to force anybody under executive privilege to testify. If Congress had a problem, they have to get it sorted out through the courts. Now, I have argued in the past, like in the past week, Democrats actually had a decent argument in that regard. Trump was obstructing their investigation, but they didn't reach the threshold. And now I would say I fall more firmly on the side that Democrats did not do their due diligence. Why? Jared Golden, a Democrat, stated they rushed the process on obstruction for political reasons. They wanted to get it done before Christmas, in which case I think it was wrong. But I'm ambivalent. If Trump is impeached, not impeached, whatever. But these people believe the world is ending. And when you have a press that isn't telling you the truth, and they're not telling the truth, what can you expect? Well, I'll tell you this. I know I framed this initially for those who don't normally watch this kind of content or don't watch me. And if I don't reach any of them, well, it's unfortunate. But you realize that in the past several days, see this black line right here. For those that are listening on the podcast, we're looking at the Real Clear Politics impeachment average. It has spiked. Following the vote, following the hearing, everything is up. Right now, more people oppose impeachment than support it. It is flipped in Trump's favor. Impeachment is not helping your case. And I know I've said it all the time, but I do want to do these updates. Trump's approval rating has almost completely recovered. It's actually higher than just before the scandal broke. Not its highest point ever, but right before the scandal, got into full swing, Trump's approval rating has gone up 6 points, according to Gallup. And in the aggregate on RCP, Trump's completely recovered. So congratulations. And I mean it. Trump has, and you know what I'm going to do? I've got one more reason to show you why this has been a big mistake. And I want to say a few things. First, trust in news media in the Trump era. Partisan dynamics overshadow other factors in Americans' evaluations of news media. You're going to hear from CNN, MSNBC, many other outlets, ABC, CBS, etc. They're going to say a stain on Trump's presidency. Bad news for the Republican Party. How could this happen? Trump is frustrated. He's red in the face. He's furious. Let me stop you. Let me stop you right there. I'm not going to tell you what Trump thinks. I'm not going to tell you how he feels. I'm not going to call him red in the face. I'll tell you this. Trump made light of it. He mocked it. He's used it to campaign. He's raised tens of millions of dollars. The Democrats have lost a congressman, Jeff Van Drew, who's going to be purportedly switching to the Republican Party. Tulsi Gabbard voting present. A couple other Democrats defecting on their votes. It's actually a disaster for the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi said she wouldn't move forward without broad bipartisan support. They don't have it. And so she pushed forward anyway, and they lost support from their own side. Donald Trump has raised tens of millions of dollars, so you can call it a stain on his presidency, fine. But the fact remains, Trump's approval is up. Opposition to impeachment is up. Trump's fundraising is up. That's it. Democrat support is down. Trump is now above board with all of the national, with many national polls. They're flipping in his favor. There are many swing state polls showing Trump now beats all of the Democrats. Democrats lost their advantage. They sacrificed everything for this. Here's a poll that says Republicans are far more likely than Democrats to say journalists lack ethics. I'll tell you why. It's simple, man. I don't even see why it should be argued. When journalists go out and celebrate a left-wing meme drinking beers, liberals are going to say to them, the resistance people, the anti-Trump people are going to be like, they're doing the right thing because Trump is bad. And Republicans are going to be like, there's no ethics there. Why are they celebrating this instead of just informing us? Reporters have been replaced. But I do want to leave you with just a few final thoughts on this segment. I'm going to now introduce you to a rather funny article. This is a satirical article. It's from the Babylon Bee. It says, quote, "Look, is that Trump committing an impeachable offense? Mitch McConnell says, distracting Dems while more conservative judges sneak by." From 2 days ago. I thought this story was quite funny. But you know what's really funny about it? This article's not a joke. This article is literally, look, it's literally a joke, but it reflects the real world so much. That's what truly makes it funny. I know. A lot of people said, Tim, that's the joke. That's the point. I think they should have said Mitch McConnell shouts, distracting Democrats while sneaking more conservative judges in. But I want to explain to you why this is very funny. And if you're somebody, again, who finds yourself on the left and supporting impeachment, let me show you this. This story is from December 17th. It is from a day before the impeachment vote. And now this story from CNN from last night. As House votes to impeach Trump, McConnell pushes 13 judge nominations through the Senate. You just made a satirical article come true. Now, I get it. The Babylon Bee has got their ear to the ground. They know what's going to happen, and they're making a joke because they knew it was going to happen. But think about this. A day before impeachment, they made the joke. It was that predictable. Trump knows what you're going to do. And it's shocking to me because it's so obvious. When Trump posts an image of him as Rocky Balboa and the media goes nuts and they say, oh no, what is Trump doing? And Trump laughs. And his base laughs. When these other conservatives and these satirical websites say, we know what's going to happen, they're going to push through more judges while the Democrats, while Trump dangles keys in the other direction. Before Trump got impeached, before the inquiry, questions were being asked as to whether or not Trump wanted to be impeached. And many people speculated he did. It will, for one thing, you can call it a stain, but there's no such thing as bad press. It makes Trump a historical figure, one of three. And you can argue they're all bad, but people like Bill Clinton. Donald Trump now presiding over the longest economic expansion in U.S. history sounds a lot like Bill Clinton, who was impeached and presided over the previous massive economic expansion that was historical. Now it's Trump. But many people speculated Trump wanted to be impeached because he was going to use it to rally his base, and it was going to distract the Democrats. I think we've just seen the proof. I think I have now shown you that while these journalists are cheering and celebrating and having drinks, Trump has stacked the courts. 180 new judges are going to shape the laws of this country for a generation. And I'll tell you why I'm frustrated. For one, I want to make sure it's clear. For the most part, when it comes to a lot of the stuff, I am ambivalent. And the left hates me for it. They hate me for it because I don't care enough. But I'll tell it like it is. Listen, I'd prefer if Trump wasn't nominating judges with no experience. There's one judge, okay? But I thought it was funny. I laughed at it. Wow. Trump's victories are so absurd. He actually nominated a judge who has almost no courtroom experience. Amazing. And I think you got a point. I don't know. But think back to when they said, does Trump want to be impeached? I think the answer is yes. I do. I think Trump wanted to be impeached. I don't think he's red in the face. I don't think he's angry. You know, I'll just tell you my personal opinion. I look at what Trump and the Republicans have been able to accomplish in the judiciary. And like I said, it'll shape laws for a generation. People who are in their 40s who get lifetime appointments to the courts. Meanwhile, the Democrats, instead of making this their case, fighting this tooth and nail, challenging this and pushing back on these appointments, what are they doing? An impeachment that is guaranteed to fail. Or as we're learning now, might not even be transmitted to the Senate. Nancy Pelosi saying, maybe I won't even do it. Maybe I won't even do it. What was the point? What was the point of all of this? I'll tell you what. I blame the media. That's the point of this video. We know they're biased. We know they're pushing for this. We know they're celebrating it. And we know that while they're not paying attention, while they're not speaking truth to power or calling out the government or documenting this, we know that Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell are pushing through conservative judges that will get lifetime appointments and shape this country for the next generation. In order to have a functioning democracy or democratic system, I know a republic, a free society, we need a free press to inform people about what's going on. I think it's important to highlight this as we wrap up this segment. Unfortunately, these other Democrats were just sitting around saying everything everyone else already said. I'm sorry, these journalists were sitting around saying everything everyone had already said, and then celebrating afterwards having won nothing. They won nothing. Do you know who won yesterday? Donald Trump is going to raise tens of millions of more dollars. There's going to be massive blowback to the Democrats, the moderates, who are going to lose in 2020, and they knew it. Meanwhile, Donald Trump and the Republicans get 13 more judges pushed through. So I'll tell you what, man. You want to talk about tangible, factual benefits, successes? What have the Democrats succeeded in? USMCA, that's Trump's victory. Impeachment, not even going to go to the Senate maybe? Definitely going to fail in the Senate? Not a victory. They made Trump one of 3 presidents to be impeached. You can call it a stain, like I said. You can also look at it like Trump knows he's going to be in the history books the rest of his life. Do you think Trump cares about people calling him bad names? I don't think so. I think Trump likes people knowing his name, and he puts it big and bold on big buildings. And you just stamped his name in the history books for the rest of civilization. 3 presidents: Johnson, Clinton, Trump. Now his name will be there forever. So yes, it is a net negative in the long run. But hey, man, someone like Trump knows there's no such thing as bad press. And with the booming economy, the longest economic expansion in U.S. history, the court victories, all I think he cares about is that he's winning, and now you will never forget his name. Thanks for hanging out. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m., youtube.com/TimCastNews, and I will see you all there.